And I think we're both craving just a more peaceful partnership, or be alone. And we're really well suited. You know, we're just very much equals, and we treat each other that way.
At the age of 61, a long-held silence is broken, as Melissa Gilbert finally reveals the truth about her complex bond with Patty Duke, a story that begins with her own origin. Melissa Ellen Gilbert. Her life commenced on May 8, 1964, in the sprawling heart of Los Angeles, California, adopted as an infant by the actor and comedian Paul Gilbert and his wife, Barbara Crane. From her first breath, Melissa was immersed in the very soul of entertainment. Her Hollywood upbringing, a world where life and performance were one. This world surrounded her with a universe of opportunities to cultivate her talents, and in its glow, she discovered a profound and undeniable love for the art of acting. Yet, despite this early start in an industry known for its unforgiving nature, Melissa displayed a remarkable resilience, a quiet but unyielding determination. She began to carve out a space that was uniquely hers, not merely as a fleeting child star, but as a respected actress, a force to be reckoned with, a director, an author, and a fierce advocate. But the role that would etch her into the American consciousness arrived when she was just 9 years old. She landed the iconic role of Laura Ingalls Wilder in the landmark television series Little House on the Prairie. From 1974 to 1983, based on the cherished books by Laura Ingalls Wilder, the series transcended the screen to become a cultural phenomenon. It was a celebration of the American pioneer spirit, yet it delved into the profound themes of family, faith, hardship, and the very essence of perseverance. At its core was Melissa's portrayal of Half-Pint, the affectionate name given to her by Michael Landon's unforgettable Charles Ingalls. Her performance resonated with millions across the globe. Her natural charm, her surprising emotional depth, and a raw authenticity made Laura a character that audiences felt they knew, a figure who crossed generational divides. Week after week, Melissa brought an innocence to the screen, but it was an innocence tempered with strength and warmth, helping to cement the series as one of the most enduring family dramas of all time. Yet, Melissa's story was never meant to be confined to the fields of Walnut Grove. After the show ended, she began to build a career of impressive and surprising depth. Across television and film, she became a formidable presence, starring in dozens of made-for-TV movies and embracing emotionally powerful roles. In projects such as Choices of the Heart in 1983, she portrayed the missionary Jean Donovan, and in 1979's The Miracle Worker. In this pivotal role, she portrayed Helen Keller, acting opposite the legendary Patty Duke as Anne Sullivan, a performance that showcased her astonishing ability to step into profoundly challenging dramatic roles, demanding a maturity and emotional range far beyond her years, marking her arrival as a serious adult actress. Melissa's journey continued through series such as Stand By Your Man and Sweet Justice, and a collection of guest roles across the television landscape. Each part proved her adaptability and her continued relevance in a competitive world. But beyond the acting, another side of Melissa Gilbert was about to emerge. She would become a powerful voice within the halls of Hollywood leadership. From 2001 to 2005, she served as the president of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, a position where she represented the interests of thousands of actors across the United States. During her tenure, she became known for her tireless advocacy, fighting for fair contracts, healthcare benefits, and vital protections for her fellow performers. Navigating the turbulent currents of an ever-changing entertainment landscape, this period of her career demonstrated a new dimension to Melissa. She was not just a talented actress, but a determined leader, unafraid to speak out and challenge the status quo. She was a fighter for the rights of her peers. Then, between 2008 and 2009, Gilbert's story came full circle, as she was seen as Caroline Ma Ingalls. It was a grand musical adaptation of Little House on the Prairie, guided by the singular vision of director Francesca Zambello. The world premiere production graced the stage at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, before the show embarked on a U.S. national tour. A journey that began in 2009, it finally came to an end under the lights of the Starlight Theater in Kansas City, Missouri, in June of 2010. Beyond the screen, Melissa sought a new medium for her voice, penning several books that offered a rare, intimate glimpse into the journey behind the public facade. Her memoir, Prairie, released in 2009, was a stark and candid confession, a chronicle of growing up under the relentless glare of Hollywood and the crushing weight of child stardom. She laid bare her battles with the shadows of addiction and charted her arduous path toward recovery and healing. Later, she would offer a different kind of story in My Prairie Cookbook, published in 2014. It was a work that blended cherished family recipes with behind-the-scenes anecdotes from her Little House years, a heartfelt offering to a fan base that had stood by her for decades. This raw honesty, this willingness to expose her vulnerabilities, forged a new connection with the public, making her profoundly relatable and a source of quiet inspiration. It was a testament to a universal truth that even those who seem to live gilded lives in the spotlight must fight their own private wars. And Melissa Gilbert's personal life was, in itself, a saga as eventful and as captivating as any role she had ever played on screen, particularly in the turbulent theater of her relationships and marriages. In 1988, she entered into a union with actor Beau Brinkman, a man known for his own work in film and television at the time. But he also carried a connection to Hollywood royalty, the legendary Sheen Estevez dynasty, through his cousin, the acclaimed Martin Sheen. Their life together was a whirlwind of passion and creativity, a crucible forged by two artists navigating the treacherous currents of the entertainment industry. And in 1989, their world was transformed with the arrival of a son, Dakota Paul Brinkman, marking Gilbert's first passage into motherhood. It was a role that added profound new dimensions of joy and responsibility to her life. Yet, despite their efforts to fortify their bond, their relationship was shadowed by unseen challenges. And after 6 years, the curtain fell on their marriage as they chose to part ways. The divorce, finalized in 1994, closed a chapter that was both rewarding and deeply turbulent, a chapter that etched invaluable lessons about love, family, and the nature of personal growth. Then, just 1 year after that chapter closed, a new one began, as Gilbert found love again with the actor Bruce Boxleitner. He was a well-established star of both television and film, a face instantly recognizable from his roles in Scarecrow and Mrs. King and the iconic Tron films. Their paths, it turned out, had crossed years before, an introduction made by none other than Michael Landon Jr., her former co-star. Now, after reconnecting, a spark was reignited. A romance quickly blossomed into something more, and they married in 1995 in a ceremony that perfectly blended the expected Hollywood glamour with a deeply heartfelt emotion. Together, they embarked on the journey of building a blended family, with Gilbert becoming a stepmother to Boxleitner's 2 sons from his prior marriage. That same year, 1995, they welcomed a son of their own, Michael Garrett Boxleitner. His name, a poignant tribute to Gilbert's late mentor and cherished Little House's father figure, Michael Landon. Their marriage would endure for over 16 years. It became the longest and most defining relationship of her life to that point. And through those years, they weathered the inevitable storms and seasons of a Hollywood partnership, balancing the immense pressures of dueling careers, the demands of parenting, and the unforgiving eye of public life. But despite their shared history and deep family ties, Gilbert and Boxleitner ultimately made the decision to divorce in 2011, marking the quiet, somber end of another significant era in her life. After a period of quiet reflection, focusing on herself and her children, love once again found its way to Melissa Gilbert, this time with the acclaimed actor and director Timothy Busfield, a talent celebrated for his indelible roles in 30-something, The West Wing, and the timeless Field of Dreams. In January of 2013, her representative confirmed their engagement. The news was met with a wave of warm enthusiasm from fans who held a deep admiration for both stars and their long-standing contributions to the landscapes of television and film. Their relationship progressed with a sense of certainty, as the two shared not just a palpable chemistry, but a foundation of mutual values, rooted in family, creativity, and a shared yearning for a simpler life. On April 24, 2013, they were married. The ceremony, held in the serene setting of Santa Barbara, California, was quiet, romantic, and deeply symbolic of a fresh, hopeful new beginning for Melissa Gilbert. A man she would come to call not just her partner, but her true soulmate. And in the wake of their union, the couple made a pivotal choice. They would turn their backs on the siren call of the Hollywood lifestyle, finding sanctuary in the small town of Howell, Michigan, from 2013 to 2018. In this quiet corner of the world, they discovered a more grounded existence, a lifetime removed from the relentless glare and manufactured chaos of Los Angeles. Gilbert immersed herself in the rhythm of local life, weaving her story into the community and finding a profound sense of purpose in the art of renovation. They began restoring a historic Victorian house, a project she often spoke of as a labor of love and the physical embodiment of her life's new chapter. During these formative years, her focus shifted inward towards her writing, her passionate political activism, and the delicate work of nurturing her own health. It was a conscious search for peace, for an equilibrium that had long been absent after decades spent under the unblinking eye of the spotlight. By late 2018, a new chapter beckoned. Gilbert and Busfield felt the pull of a different horizon, deciding to relocate once more, this time to the electric heart of New York City, a shift that would mark another profound phase in their lives. They traded the serene quiet of small-town Michigan for the vibrant, cultural symphony of Manhattan. In New York, Gilbert found herself enveloped by a world of art, theater, and creative possibility that served to reignite her spirit. This renaissance was both professional and deeply personal, as the move brought her physically closer to her extended family. It was a chance to reconnect with the fast-paced, creative current that had shaped so much of her early existence. With Busfield as her anchor, Gilbert entered this stage of her journey with a renewed sense of purpose, a testament to her profound resilience. It was a display of adaptability and a commitment to embracing love and life in all its unpredictable forms, even at 61 years old. Melissa Gilbert, the beloved actress forever etched into our hearts as Laura Ingalls Wilder from the iconic television series Little House on the Prairie, finally broke her long-held silence, speaking on the complicated and deeply personal connection she shared with another Hollywood legend, Patty Duke. For decades, Gilbert had guarded the more private corridors of her life, carefully and deliberately choosing the moments she would reveal the deeper truths. But now, with the clarity that only age and wisdom can provide, she decided the time had come to share her thoughts, to speak honestly and without restraint. Her words, marked with the unmistakable authenticity of lived experience, carried more than mere admiration for Duke's extraordinary talent. They carried the weight of a shared history. They were reflections on the darker, unseen realities of show business and the profound impact Duke's own struggles had on her perspective of a life lived in the spotlight. Melissa Gilbert's account, delivered in her characteristically direct yet deeply heartfelt manner, often began from a place of pure reverence. Patty Duke was one of the most fearless actresses I've ever seen, she admitted. She had this uncanny ability to bring a character to life in a way that made you feel like you weren't watching a performance. You were watching a soul being laid bare, right in front of you. For Gilbert, who herself had been raised within the machinery of the entertainment industry from the tender age of 9, watching Duke's performances was both an inspiration and a source of intimidation. She could see in Patty Duke's work the raw honesty and searing vulnerability that all true actors aspire to achieve. Yet, beneath that staggering brilliance, Gilbert also recognized the faint, familiar signs of a struggle, the kind of struggle that so many child stars and adult performers had quietly endured in Hollywood, a reality from which she, herself, had not been spared. In pulling back the curtain on the life of Patty Duke, Gilbert spoke with a raw honesty, refusing to sanitize the profound hardships Duke was forced to endure. The silent wars waged within her mind, the crushing weight of a spotlight she never asked for as a child, and the often ruinous, personal entanglements that became the wreckage of a life lived in the storm. In a quiet, reflective tone, Gilbert would confess, "When I was younger," she recalls, her voice tinged with a distant memory, "I couldn't possibly grasp what Patty was truly going through. I don't believe any of us, any of the children in that world, really could. We saw only what was on the surface, a perceived moodiness, an intensity we couldn't name. But with the passage of time and the weathering of my own storms, I came to see that what she had survived was a trial of unimaginable difficulty. Gilbert would go on to explain how Duke's eventual, courageous openness about the diagnosis of bipolar disorder became a beacon, giving countless souls, herself among them, the permission to voice their own vulnerabilities. To speak without the shadow of shame, Gilbert also reflected on a more somber truth: how Patty Duke, in many ways, became a living, breathing, cautionary tale for the next generation of young hopefuls. "I would look at the tapestry of Patty's life," she admitted, "and think, if she can walk through that fire and still find the strength to stand, to raise her voice, then perhaps there is hope for all of us." Duke's story, she confessed, served as a stark awakening to the perilous nature of Hollywood's relentless machine. A machine particularly unforgiving to its young women. Gilbert acknowledged the haunting echoes in her own story, a path etched with public romances and painful separations. With battles for her health and a private war with addiction, she saw the reflection of Duke's own ordeal. "There were moments," Gilbert confided, "when I felt myself teetering on that same precipice where Patty had spent so many years, but witnessing her, seeing the way she ultimately seized control of her own story, that gave me the strength to attempt the same." Yet, what resonates most profoundly in Gilbert's memories was not merely admiration for a gifted performer, but a deep, resonant empathy for the woman behind the marquee lights and the battles she fought in private. "She was human," Gilbert emphasized, her voice heavy with meaning. "That's the part the world forgets when they gaze up at the stars. Patty wasn't just a character on a screen, or a timeless icon, or some tragic footnote. She was a soul yearning for love, for stillness, for a sense of peace, the very same things we all search for. A search that would define so much of her life." In Gilbert's words, one could hear a powerful sense of kinship, as if she were speaking not from a distance, not only as a fellow traveler in the world of make-believe, but as a woman who knew, in her very bones, what it was to walk that treacherous tightrope between the warmth of public adoration and the cold solitude of private pain. By speaking her truth about Patty Duke, Melissa Gilbert offered a rare and unfiltered glimpse behind the velvet rope, into the gilded cage of the Hollywood child star, a world shimmering with impossible opportunity and shadowed by immense unspoken pressures. Now, at 61, her reflections are imbued with the weight of hindsight and a profound compassion, and with a quiet determination to honor the legacy of a woman whose life was a study in contrasts both luminous and deeply troubled. "If there is one thing I have learned from Patty," Gilbert concluded, "it is this: our struggles do not define us, they forge us. And if we can summon the courage to share those stories, perhaps we can make one other person feel a little less alone in the dark." Through these candid revelations, Melissa Gilbert did more than just pay tribute to a fallen star. She reaffirmed her own long journey toward honesty, resilience, and growth. In a chapter of life where many retreat into silence, Gilbert chose to raise her voice. And in doing so, she issued a powerful reminder: the immutable power that lies in speaking the truth, especially when it is difficult, especially when it is long overdue.